Okay, hi, I'm G.D. Peters. I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about Rap Genius in the classroom in both the live, hybrid, and online learning environments. Rap Genius is really 4 websites plus the educational site. It's Rap, Rock, Poetry, and News Genius, and then the teachers use Education Genius to access it. I found out about Rap Genius last October. I was reading the New York Times, and there was a great article about the diminished role of the humanities in our colleges, sort of a hot button topic these days. Stanford and Princeton University noted that they were losing a lot of students to the STEM disciplines, science, technology, engineering, and math. And at Stanford, the 45% of the undergraduate faculty were clustered in the humanities, while only 15% of the student body was. So anyway, there was this picture of this picture of, is Jeremy here? Jeremy Dean, you registered, I guess you could make it. There's a picture of this guy who is using Rap Genius, this website, teaching the graduate students at Stanford to have their undergraduate students in a class called Teaching the Classics in the Digital Age annotate Homer and Virgil on the website. What is Rap Genius? I've got this, hopefully it'll work, a brief 1-minute video from the Rap Genius website.
You assign your students a book to read. They have ideas. They take notes. But all they can do is cram their thoughts into the margins where no one will ever see them. What if students could bring these thoughts to the foreground? What if a book became a space for conversation? On Rap Genius's literary site, Poetry Genius, students can read together and share their ideas as easily as they do on Facebook. A student annotates a line. She can illustrate her argument with images and videos, or add links to draw connections across the text. Classmates can comment on each other's work, beginning class discussion before class even begins. A point system with upvotes and recognition of top scholars turns close reading into a game. Student profiles become portfolios of their work, which teachers can review and respond to with ease. Suggestions from classmates and feedback from teachers help students develop ideas for future essays. Poetry Genius empowers students to create their own interactive text, bringing their reading to life. So now it's your turn to join the growing community of teachers and students who are using Poetry Genius and the other Genius sites in the classroom.
And in addition, I would say that my experience with using Rap Genius has been that prior to using this, and I use it in a live classroom, not an online or hybrid classroom. Prior to this, I would assign a reading for my literature class, and students would come in and I would ask some shared inquiry questions to try and get the thoughts percolating. And after a while, the discussion would begin, and students would engage with the text again. But with Rap Genius, they'd already done that, because in order to annotate the text online, they have to read it carefully, read it closely first. So they'd already done that before they came to the classroom. So when I asked a question, the discussions were much more energized after using the site. How do you use Rap Genius? You go to rapgenius.com. You create an education. There's a link here, I don't know if you can see it. It says education. You click on the education link, and you just follow the instructions. You sign up, click on the sign up for a Genius account. Click on that, and you just sign up for your account. Pick a username and a password, and you've got an account. And then number 2 there says send your username to education department, and you click on that, and it will give you an email window to send an email to Jeremy Dean, and he will convert your regular public account to an educator account. There's a really easy to use teacher's guide, and all you have to do is click on any of these topics, and a window pops up explaining what they are. I've highlighted creating class pages here, which we'll talk about in a second, which is how you get your students onto a page that's just for your classroom. So and then you give your students a link to the site. They have to open up a free account also in order to be able to annotate the text. Oftentimes the text that you want to use will be already added to the site. If it's literature, it would be Poetry Genius. If it's business writing, it would be News Genius perhaps. I use that, I'll show you in a minute. If the text that you want to teach is not already on the site, you have to add the text yourself. It's very easy. On every page on Rap Genius, there's a link here that says Add New Text, and you click on that and it opens up this protocol. They call it songs and lyrics. So in the primary artist space, you just put the author's name and so forth. You scroll down on this page, and there will be a window at the bottom for you to paste in your text. They call it lyrics, but that's where your text goes. And just cut and paste it in, and you have to probably format it. The only formatting I had to do was to just add paragraph breaks. It's really not any harder than that. I used Rap Genius the first time in my business writing class at Lehman College, and in my business writing class, every class I asked one student to find a business report and to give a report on that report, hence the Department of Redundancy Department label. And with the use of Rap Genius, the student would find an article. I asked them to use NewYorkTimes.com or CNN.com, although CNN.com is now on a rumspring of missing Malaysian Flight 370 and no longer reporting the news. But so NewYorkTimes.com, and they would send me a link to their article, and then I would usually have to upload the article myself because news articles aren't as frequent on this site as our literary texts and so forth. So I would upload the text, cut and paste, and then click on the admin button, which I'll show you in a second, and it creates a page just for my class. So that the article that I would paste on the Rap Genius website is there for everyone in public to use. But when you click on the admin button and create a class project for your class, only your students will go to this class and can annotate it. Then I gave my student the link. He annotated the article. We come to class. We pull it up on the laptop on the projector, and the student can every highlighted passage in the text is something the student has annotated. He can pull up his annotations and discuss the article with the class. And they really enjoy doing that. In my literature class at City College, I was teaching Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. And again, The Lottery was already on the Poetry Genius site, so all I did was, and it was fully annotated, so all I did was I found that page, I clicked on the admin button. I don't know if you can see it here. I'm not sure where it is, I can't see it clearly. And created a class project, and it takes all the annotations off and creates a G.D. Peters page just for my students. I give my students that link, and then anything that's highlighted in green is something that the teacher has highlighted. So I highlighted the first sentence of the story, and I posted a question of what significance is this opening? And then the students click on that, and it opens up another window, and they can post an answer. So the first student, probably read it better from here. The first student answered this vivid imagery signifying life and happiness, blossoming, sunny, richly green, is a stark contrast to what is to come at the end of the story, death. And then once that student posted a comment, an annotation, other students can add to that. They can supplement or post a comment to that. And as you can see from the second annotation, they can add videos or photographs. So this student added a bright, sunny landscape and say, she's got us fooled, right? And then the third student added on top of that and wrote, if the flowers were blossoming profusely and the grass was richly green, signs of fertile land, why are they still doing the lottery, which originally was intended to produce rain and crops? This opening line offers more of a scapegoat than sacrificial reason for why the townspeople have the lottery. So they've done all this thinking and all this engaging of the text before they even came to class. And the class discussion naturally was spirited. In my Bard College Clementi course in the Humanities, which I teach at Children's Village in Harlem, and by the way, tomorrow's our graduation, the first ever Clementi course in New York City. I teach the literature section there, and during the poetry weeks, I taught Yeats's The Second Coming, and here you can see that it doesn't say G.D. Peters. I just used the public site, and most of it was annotated. The first, the gyre, the word gyre wasn't annotated, and this line wasn't annotated, so I highlighted those, and I added my own annotation, which is a quote from the text that we used from the Norton Introduction to Literature that discusses Yeats's concerns with the civic strife in Ireland post-World War I, and his theory of the 2,000-year cycles of history, the Greco-Roman coming to the birth of Christ, and then the Christian cycle after that, which is where he was when he wrote this poem in, I think, 1919. So, and again, for this class, I didn't expect my students to annotate, but I did pull it up on the big screen in front of the classroom and pulled up the annotations for the class to read while we were studying the poem line by line, and they found that useful. Likewise, we studied Robert Frost's poem Design, and this is, again, a public site. I didn't have to create a class site because I didn't expect my students to go and annotate. I just wanted to show it to them when we were studying the poem. The opening lines of this famous Frost poem: I found a dimpled spider, fat and white, on a white heel-all, holding up a moth, like a white piece of rigid satin cloth. And don't ask me how, I found on Google a picture of the dimpled spider, fat and white, holding up a moth. And the students loved it, because it gives them something visual to connect with. Not that Frost didn't do a great job with his own imagery. So again, no need for the students to annotate everything. If you just want to use the site to present it as you're teaching, it's a terrific tool for that too. That's really it. It's a really easy site to use. In the live classroom, to me, it gets the students engaged in the text before the discussion begins, so that the discussions are lively. In the online and hybrid environment, I think it would be even more useful because it's something different for them to have while they're studying the text. Here's some fine print. And that's Rap Genius.
Great, thank you. Here, but we have about 10-15 minutes for questions, so I'll just open it to the floor. Yeah.
This question is directed towards people the students already have bring their own iPads, or did you guys supplement the iPads for them?
We brought the iPads to the classroom. We have a cart that has 30 iPads in it. Our education technology department bought a few of those carts, and so we order them and bring them to the classroom, like we bring a laptop cart, and then we hand them out to the students, and then they do the interactive presentation with them, and then they give them back. And if a student has their own, we let them use it.
Yeah, in the back.
Yeah, at Hostos, when the students are using the iPads, can they leave the presentation and go cruise the web?
No.
No, you can't.
They can only leave the presentation when I get out of the Nearpod and take them to the 3D Brain app. Then they kind of have freedom to do whatever they want.
Right.
But once I bring them back to Nearpod, I'm in control. And so no, they can't go surfing the web,
Yeah.
which is what I'm very happy about that.
I have a story similar to that. In the late 2000s, I was teaching in a classroom full of iMacs, with big screens and high-speed internet connections. This was just before the deployment of smartphones. And my IT guy brought me an Ethernet cable. He said, this is the wide area network cable. You pull this plug, the computers work fine. The internet is evaporated. The students never figured out that the internet, which cut on and off so often, was something I was able to do. So they concentrated on the work with Adobe's Photoshop and those other programs.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Steve?
Yes.
Can students upload video on
On Blackboard?
No, on the other software, Camtasia, is it Camtasia?
No, it's more of a creation platform for the instructor. So it's more of a canvas that gives you the ability to integrate other items. So you can you can use PowerPoint. You can also pull still photographs and drag them into the timeline. You can also drag other media. Like, for example, if you wanted to show something and you say, okay, here's a good example of that. You want to grab another video, and you can pull that right into the timeline. So you can really produce like a whole little TV show.
So only the instructor side can
Yeah.
a student cannot.
Yeah, the student wouldn't, unless, of course, the student had the program.
So we got a couple questions over here. Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is also for the student. In Camtasia, the example you shows the professor's face during the lecture, but is it a possibility to show the professor doing diagrams? Also, does he has the ability to highlight certain aspects within the PowerPoint slide?
Unless, if he does it inside the PowerPoint, like as part of the transition, yes. But outside of just what you saw, no, it's just, but we do have one of our business professors actually does that. He'll highlight and he'll italicize things and he'll make notations on the PowerPoints as well. So
Also highlight any images and any diagram.
yeah. But once the platform is recorded, you really can't do anything to it in the final version, but you can go back into the record file, into the CAM profile, and you can make changes. You can make changes there.
So there was another question over there.
In the last week, address copyright issues once again of loading text up into this, be it education or Rap Genius site. It seems like.
Well, Rap Genius is, I was told that this morning on NPR there was a news story about the intellectual property in Rap Genius. They've been taken to task. I remember a month or two ago they closed the site down because of that. Now they're paying artists royalties because aside from works in the public domain, on Poetry Genius, the text for short stories, many of those are in the public domain. They're out of copyright, so it's free use. But for the Rap Genius website, where these rap artists are having their lyrics posted on Rap Genius, and where Rap Genius is making money off those, they made some protests, and apparently, from what I was told, there was a story this morning that Rap Genius is now compensating those artists. It's not a lot, but it's whatever. I guess it would be ASCAP and BMI, the music publishing watchdog agencies, are making sure that they get paid. But for educational use too, there's an exception for educational use, number of chapters, not the whole work, right? Or percentage.
Yeah.
Steve, I wanted to know if you offer workshops or one-on-ones, how do you support it?
We do. I actually, several times during the course of the semester, we'll do an open workshop with the Camtasia, but I'd rather work with, if I have my choice, I would rather work with the person one-on-one, because I think we can get a little bit more done that way. Because a lot of times people have questions and it slows down. So I find that one-on-one is...
Do you have like a media room that you do the
Yes.
one-on-one, which is...
Great. Well, thank you again to all of our panelists and presenters, and good luck.